I am a career practitioner, and I like to say career practitioner because that is a very broad way to explain what I do. Specifically, why I'm here today is under the umbrella of being a career counselor and a job search coach. And my company is called Futures in Motion, and I help job seekers or established professionals with career pivots, rebranding, job search preparation. I do that one-on-one career counseling. I do presentations, webinars. I do in-person trainings. I've created online trainings. I do a lot of speaking, a lot of writing. I have many articles, and so I have quite a lot of experience at the state level. I am from California. I'm in California, and I see that there are a few of you here from California. And I'm also a board member of the National Career Development Association. So we have a pretty broad global reach. And I made my way here. I was invited to present here by Dr. Robinson, and I will talk a lot more about job search and preparing for a job search and networking, but um, our relationship is an example of the power of professional relationships and how you can leverage online communities to advance your career and to enhance the work that you do. So Dr. Robinson and I met many years ago on Twitter, and we found each other and in community there, and we've kept in contact as colleagues throughout the years, actually, and we've carried over into LinkedIn and Instagram as well. So that's what brought me here today. And I agreed to speak on this topic of job search success and from frustration to a success in your job search, talking about ways that you can stand out in your job search to get the job ultimately that you want. And I was inspired to speak about this topic because my clients and other job seekers that I encounter on a regular basis are frustrated and experiencing job search fatigue. There's a lot going on today. The job market is always up and down. And these are smart, accomplished professionals who are really just having a difficult time connecting to the right job opportunities. And maybe those of you who are here can relate and you're looking for some answers. So what that looks like for them is that they are maybe not able to really clearly find the right jobs to apply for. So they might be looking and they just can't find anything. Or maybe they have found jobs to apply for and they're getting minimal or maybe no response to the applications that they're submitting. Or maybe they're actually lucky enough to get interviews, but those interviews are not yielding job offers. Or if they are yielding job offers, they tend to be overqualified for the offers that they're getting. There's some mismatch between their capabilities and what the job is requiring or what the job is offering in terms of salary and level. And what really this means in many cases is that perhaps they can be more clear about their job target, or perhaps they might adjust the job search methods that they're using, or maybe they might enhance their ability to communicate and demonstrate the fit. Or maybe they're just having these hiring conversations with the wrong people. And so in some cases, maybe they're doing all of the right things and it's a matter of timing. So we discuss ways that they might stay motivated and encouraged during an extended job search. So that's why I agreed to speak on this topic. And again, I mentioned already a little bit about my background as a career counselor and a career coach. And I've been doing this for many decades. And the clients that I work with, they're all looking for career direction. They're looking for support in connecting with the job that they want. And I see my job as helping them to do that, make it easier for them, uh, less frustration in the process. I work with, and I have over the course of my career, I've worked with in higher education, with college students, with undergraduate students, with graduate students, PhDs, and postdoctoral candidates. I am a counselor educator, so I also teach counseling psychology graduate students, and I have been a mentor and a supervisor of graduate students and professional counselors. So, in addition to being an author and a speaker, I've worked in those capacities. And so, my goal is with this webinar today, is to help you and give you ways to get focused in your job search so that you can get what you want, the salary and benefits that you want. My goal is to help you stand out in the applications and the interviews, give you some suggestions on how to do that, effectively plan your job search, and ways to stay motivated throughout this process. I encourage you to use the chat to put comments in, ask questions. We'll get to as many of those as we can throughout the session, and there'll be some Q&A time at the end. And I encourage you and invite you to connect with me on the platforms, and I'll give you the links to those before we end the webinar today. Some of you are going to have some very specific questions about how what I'm going to share with you applies to your personal situation, and I will be able to answer to the best of my ability. If I'm not able to answer your question during the session, again, feel free to just give me a call. If you post in the chat and someone else has an answer, please help each other out there. This is a community that can be really valuable for you. And as we go along, please feel free to screenshot any of the slides for your reference. And I understand that the session is going to be recorded as well, so you'll be able to review it again for reference. So I'm going to share with you the process that I walk through with my clients and how to navigate their job search effectively. And keep in mind, although I am a career practitioner, I am a career coach and a job search coach, I am also a professional. I am also a person. I've had to go through my own job searches, and I've had to navigate my own job searches. So what I'm sharing with you is not just academic, but this is real. These are real strategies and real tactics that I have used myself and trained my clients to use, and they are effective in connecting with meaningful opportunities. So this is a photo, a painting, right? And so as you're looking at that, it's very abstract, as you can see. And this is a representation of a job search approach that is very common. I refer to it as a spray and pray approach to job search. And an effective job search, though, needs focus, it needs strategy, and it needs consistency. But we all know that when you're facing uncertainty in your job search, or maybe you've been searching for a job for a little bit longer than you expected to be, it's really easy to fall into that trap of applying to any and every job that you see so you don't miss out on any opportunities. And it's really understandable that you might want to cast a wide net in your job search. But unfortunately, that approach often leads to feeling overwhelmed or defeated because your efforts aren't working the way that you might have hoped that they would. So the spray and pray approach, really, it splits your energy and it splits your focus. So you end up feeling overwhelmed, and you end up coming across and presenting in that scattered. And it's difficult for recruiters and hiring managers and people in your network to know what you want and how to connect you to the opportunities. So imagine, you are applying to 3 different types of positions in various industries. So you have to keep up with 3 different resumes and cover letters, countless applications. You have to come up with various introductions, and you have to somehow manage on your LinkedIn or online profile to capture all of that, all of your selling points in one place. And so with this approach, what you end up doing is creating an unpaid administrative job for yourself, instead of actually getting you closer to the job that you want. And you're still not getting the responses that you want. You're still not getting the callbacks to your second interviews if you manage to at all. So you might need to refine your job search strategy if this is an approach that you've been taking. We'll talk more about what this looks like. But you want to refine your job search strategy with the understanding of 2 things. First, relevance matters. And the second is that people hire people. You have to make it easy for people to see your relevant qualifications, and you have to resist the urge to be open to anything. So we'll talk more about how you can get focused, in your job search so that you can confidently present your qualifications and so that you can take consistent action so that you can feel a higher sense of control and self-efficacy in your job search. So as you are thinking about what you want to do next, whether you're re-entering the job market, redirecting your career, preparing for retirement, these are some critical questions that you need to ask yourself as you are getting started. Your answers to these questions are going to give you the insight that you need about where you might need to refine your job search strategy. And it doesn't mean that you're going to have to make a complete overhaul, but a few tweaks in the right places can make a huge difference to your job search ease and ultimately success. So you need to be able to describe the job that you want, including what role, industry, ideal companies or organizations, and problems that you solve. You should be using a mix of job search strategies. People tend to over rely on job applications, but there's so many other strategies that you can use in your job or tactics that you can use in your job search. You want to be comfortable and confident in how you present your skills and qualifications in various scenarios, one-on-one interviews, while networking, maybe on panel interviews, phone video interviews. So those are many scenarios where you want to have comfort and ease and confidence with presenting your qualifications. And you need to have a plan for your job search that will keep you on track and accountable. And especially if you have a group of people that are supporting you, or you're working with a career counselor, career coach, having a job search plan is something that they can help you stay on track and accountable with as well. So what this means for your job search and what this means for an effective job search, it means that you need to have a clear job target. You need to have a job search plan, action plan. You need to prepare for your interviews, and you need to invest in your network. So I'm going to talk about each one of these areas here. The first and common challenge that job seekers face is finding job opportunities. I wonder if any of you have experienced this. You've sat down to look for a job. You go on to one of the online portals that you use, whatever is your favorite, only to end up frustrated because you can't find anything. Anyone, thumbs up or yes in the chat if you've had that experience. Yes. So it's very common, and I've been there too. And I've been looking for jobs through the course of my career. And so at the beginning of my career, we had like literal online job boards, not online job boards, and I had to do a lot of legwork to go find openings. And it can be really overwhelming to be engaged in a search and you just can't find what you're looking for. So figuring out the what fields and roles might be a fit for you is an art and not a science, and it requires curiosity and it requires action. And I like to say clarity comes through action. And so everything that I'm going to be sharing with you is active and designed to move you closer to clarity in your job search. And this is really the cornerstone and the foundation of an effective job search. Oftentimes people overlook it. Maybe they just don't know to do it, or they don't know how to do it, or they might think, oh gosh, it's going to take me so much time. But I can assure you that taking the time to get clear about your job target, your goals and et cetera, will save you so much time and frustration in the long run, because it will allow you to focus your job search efforts. So you're taking the actions that are going to actually get you closer to the job that you want. You're not just doing things just to do them, but there's a rhyme and a reason. There's a specific personal purpose for the actions that you're taking. You won't be just chasing down every lead that comes your way. You'll be strategic and selective, and you'll be able to actually attract opportunities that might be a better fit for you. So clarity about your job, about your career direction and your goals will make your job search that much easier. So in clarifying your job target, you want to clarify your goals. So You need to know what you're solving for here. Are you looking to, stay in the same company, in the same role, but in a different company? You want to stay in the same company, a new role. Maybe you're launching your career, maybe you're relaunching your career or redirecting your career. Whatever it may be for you, you want to identify what it is, because each one of those career goals is going to require a slightly different strategy. If you are currently working and you're not sure about your career goals, one action that you can take is what I call a job audit. And in a job audit, you take one work week and you just track everything that you do during that work week. What your daily routine at work, that would be the conversations you're having, the topic of those conversations, the people that you're interfacing with, the projects you're working on, anything that you can think of that you do that week. And then at the end of the week, you go back and you review your what you tracked. You categorize it into maybe functional categories, and also categorize it by preference. And then you can assess, do you want more of this, less of this, or is it just right? And that can give you some clues about what your career goals might be. Additionally, you want to take some time to define your work preferences. And I refer to these as practical matters. And this is important because in your job search, your initial approach might be to keep your options open. And so it can feel counterintuitive, again, to get clarity about your job target and to define your work preferences. But the reality is that we all have needs and we all have preferences. I've been in situations where people that my friends or colleagues will say, I'm looking for a new position. If you hear of anything, let me know. And then, I would forward this on. Oh no, I'm not looking. No, I'm not looking for that. It's to this, it's not that, whatever it may be. So you can help others help you by getting clear about your preferences. This will help you to define where you want to be, who you want to work with, the money that you want to be making, the salary and benefits, so that you're not wasting your time on opportunities that are not going to support that. And of course, there might be times and you may be feeling like this right now, where it may feel like a luxury to hold out on all of your for all of your preferences, to check all those boxes, but it's still important to get clear about them, because that clarity can come to fruition perhaps over time, because it'll still make your job search easier now, and it'll help you then to look at your career and your job search over a period of time, so that the next opportunity gets you closer to those preferences that you have, and the next one you can leverage to get you closer. And it enable you to filter out those jobs that are just an obvious not fit. It'll help you to identify and to discern what are your non-negotiables. This will also help you to discern company and department culture that will work best for you. And so that when you're doing informational interviewing, when you're investigating what it might be like to work at different places, you have a point of reference, where you do your best work, and you're looking for companies, organizations that can align to that. And ultimately, you'll come across with a more confident when you're clear about your preferences. So think about this. Often people will ask, so what kind of job are you looking for? You could respond, I'm open to anything. Or you could respond with, I like to do UX design for a language learning company in the East Coast, a company like Duolingo, Babbel, or Rosetta Stone. And I'm open to exploring other options that might be related. So that second response is much more clear, much more specific, and it's much more inviting of conversation. When you say, I'd be open to anything, that's millions of jobs anywhere in the world. But when you say, the second response, that's a little bit more specific, it's a little bit more narrow, and it opens up conversation and it allows people to be able to help you more effectively. In this process, you also want to take some time to take inventory of what you have to offer. This is where self-assessment comes in, and this insight gives you a reliable way to sort through all of the different options and pinpoint those that can be most viable for you. Many of the clients that I work with are people who are highly accomplished and very tenacious. So they find themselves in positions where they have to figure things out, and they get burned out from figuring things out. And what self-assessment can do and what career assessments can help with is to identify your preferences in the skills that you want to use, the knowledge that you want to apply, the values that you have and what you want to get out of work, what your natural strengths are. So being able to not only identify what they are, but also even your preferences within those personal characteristics. You can clarify what interests you the most, what you're good at doing, what motivates you, what problems you want to solve, what causes interest you the most. So this career assessment can help you get some insight to answer those questions for you. And there are free resources. I'll show you a few of those. There are free online career assessments that you can use, and there are those that are paid that you can use on your own, but also with a career counselor. And I'm a career counselor, so I'm biased. I think that they're best used with the help of a career counselor, because the career assessments just give you information. They're not really designed to give you the answer. They're designed to give you insight and information. And then working with career counselors who are trained and certified in using career assessments will help you to understand how those results apply to your personal situation and how you can incorporate that insight into your career planning and your job search. So these are the career assessments that I use most frequently. So someone asked, do I like the Strengths Finder? And that's the Clifton Strengths. And I do use the Clifton Strengths very regularly. I use the Strong Interest Inventory and the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator as well. And I use the Skill Scan, which is a skills inventory online. Those are paid resources. The Strong Interest Inventory and Myers-Briggs, you need to be working with a career counselor to get, or a qualified user to get access to those. The Clifton Strengths and the Skill Scan, anyone can go online to get access to those. And then My Next Move, and they're nominal fee. My Next Move and the Career One Stop have career assessments embedded into those, and those are free tools, and those are maintained by the U.S. Department of Labor, Bureau of Labor Statistics. So they're created by and managed by them. So those are really good resources. You don't have to do a whole lot of career assessments. When I'm working with my clients, we do a skills, values, interests, personality characteristics, natural strengths, and we may not even do all of those, but those are the ones among the ones that I do. And so the ones that are free are the My Next Move has some assessments embedded into that, and it connects it with some of the different jobs that are in the database. And then the Career One Stop is free. Okay. And they're all very useful. So you've gone through this whole process and you've taken some inventory about your knowledge, skills, abilities, and personal attributes. You've taken some time to get clarity about your work preferences, about your career goals. And so you want to then take a look at the intersection of all of those to see what opportunities or options or possibilities emerge. So in looking at that, write down anything that you can think of that comes to mind about the possibilities. If you go through this process, job titles will have emerged. Okay. So you can, think about which ones you're most interested in or you're most curious about. You could also share your results, your brainstorming and your results with friends and colleagues and see what they say. And you don't have to have 20 options to work with. One or two options is a good start for you. And you want to let your insight and curiosity guide your exploration. And I like to say, make your vision so clear that your fears become irrelevant. So at this point, you want to have, at least the confidence or the motivation to explore further. And again, you can leverage this insight into exploring options and visibility in a targeted way. And so what are your options? This is where you're going to investigate where you might find the job that you're most interested in, one that's going to meet your needs. So going beyond just the job titles, but looking at the work style, preferences that you have. If you need a flexible remote opportunity, this is where you can explore where these jobs might exist for you. So not only the job and job title, but the job and work style, and related to your work preferences, related to your goals and your needs. And so you can do this in some different ways. And the goals again here is to connect your skills and experience to new opportunities that support the lifestyle goals that you have and your career goals that you have, and get visibility and get noticed. So if you use online resources and in-person resources, you can not only explore the possibilities, but you can also begin positioning yourself for the new positions that you might want to have. And again, I use these online resources. And the strategy that you might employ here is to leverage the affiliations that you already have. Okay, so that you can get real career and industry insight, and that barrier to contacting strangers is a little bit diminished. And I use the ONET online to do some basic initial research. It's a free online database. Again, this is managed by the Department of Labor, Bureau of Labor Statistics, and it has profiles of hundreds of different careers. The My Next Move and Career One Stop, in addition to having career assessments, they also have profiles of various careers, including videos. And then, of course, Google is your friend, LinkedIn, and I guess I would put ChatGPT there as well, or the generative AI tools that can help you get insight into different career areas and help you to pull the pieces together. And by looking at this information, you'll be able to identify where you're qualified, employers and industries where your qualifications might be in demand, and any gaps in your experience and skills that you might need to fill through additional training or even experience. Sometimes what you might find, and this may be relatable to some of you, the job that you want and where you're at related to the job that you want might require some interim steps. And that's really great and useful insight to have, so that you don't end up so frustrated that you're just not quite connecting with that job, but you can break it down into maybe a 2 or 3 phase transition process. And so you're learning while you're earning and moving closer to your dream job, if you will. So by doing this exploration, and especially incorporating people into your exploration, you'll be in a better position not only to see yourself in different roles, but also to begin establishing or firing up the network that you already have. And then that will lead you then to be able to answer this question effectively. What type of job are you looking for? And I just put an example of some specific targets that you can pursue. And of course, you can even go into greater detail, but these are much more detailed than I'm open to anything. And so one of the reasons that people are reluctant to network is that they're not quite sure how to answer that question. So going through the process that I just outlined for you will enable you to answer that question with confidence. And so you'll come across as thoughtful and focused rather than desperate and scattered and all over the place. And then you can articulate the opportunities that you're looking for and get into the jobs that you're looking for and get into the flow of opportunities more easily. And then this way, it'll help you also to establish your job search action plan, which I'll talk about in a moment. But I want to pause to see if there are any questions about anything that I've covered so far. Right. And all right, so I think we're good then. We will move on. Okay, so now you have some clarity about your career direction and your job target. So there are various ways to attract the right job opportunities. And I encourage my clients to keep in mind that, like I mentioned to you before, that people hire people. And given that, the job search methods that you choose should be getting you closer to the decision makers and the best leads. And yes, this is going to be recorded. The ultimate goal, of course, is to get the job that you want. but you may have micro goals on the way to getting there. And some of those micro goals will be generating job leads, securing interviews, getting job offers. Those might be some of the micro goals that you set for yourself in on the way to getting the job that you want. And a clear and effective job search plan for generating those leads will give you the highest chance for generating, securing referrals and securing interviews. And again, job search boards, online job search boards have their place in your process, as well as personal relationships, professional engagement. Your job search plan should incorporate all of those elements in there. When you do reach out, you want to be clear and consistent in your efforts. And we'll talk about what should be included in your job search action plan so that it can be the most effective tool in guiding you in your job search. All right. So your job search action plan should include these basic elements. And honestly, having a plan that has these elements will set you so far ahead of most job seekers. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be a plan and it has to be workable. So the basic elements would be, of course, include your job target. You want to identify what you want to accomplish in your job search. So depending on where you're at in your job search, you might be looking at generating leads, goals around generating leads or interviews or securing offers. And you want to also determine how you're going to go about reaching those job search goals. You're going to pick specific job search methods that you're going to use. You're going to decide how you're going to implement those methods, and that is related to SMART goals in your job search. So, for example, if attending industry-specific networking events is a strategy that you selected, you're going to identify which industry organizations, how frequently you're going to be attending, how you're going to follow up with people, and that could be clarity in your job search action plan. You want to identify an ideal time frame for your action plan. I like to say that I'd like to encourage people to have a 30, 60, 90-day plans. So if you can create a good plan and work that plan over 90 days, you'll get momentum in a lot in your job search. And it would be awesome if you could, actually secure that position. If when you get to the point where you know what it is that you want to do, a 30, 60, 90-day plan is more realistic. I think this is anecdotal. I don't have any specific numbers around this. I'm sure you can find that through the Department of Labor. I think that 4 to 6 months is really realistic for people who know what they want and have a plan and are working their plan. It may be less or a little bit more just depending on factors outside of our control, but you want to have a time frame around your plan so then you can also put your activities that you intend to implement on an actual calendar. Okay, so you want to have a plan and a calendar so that you can have a right. So at the end of 90 days, where do you want to be? And then work backwards. So if you're going to be attending networking events over the 90 days, maybe it's realistic for you to say, I will attend one networking event a month. And at each one of those networking events, I will meet at least and connect with at least 2 new contacts and follow up on LinkedIn to connect with them on LinkedIn and schedule a coffee chat with at least one. Okay. And so you put that on your calendar and then your plan is already done for you. So you do all the work on the front end and then you just work in your plan and making adjustments as you go. Okay. All right. And so your job search action plan will give you a sense of control in the process. And I have a plan that just a framework that I give my clients, and they can fill in the blanks with their action plan, but it covers those elements that I just mentioned here for you there. And of course, there are many different tactics that you can use to get a job. The ones that you choose are going to depend on your situation and what makes most sense for you. Again, there's a place for submitting applications online, but try not to overly rely on that method. A better approach, again, is a combination of the tactics. And even though I'm an introvert, I really am a strong proponent of networking or professional relationships, establishing and maintaining professional relationships, just because I've seen it pay dividends for me over the course of my career, and I've also seen how well it works with the clients that I've worked with. So I think that I've found a way to make it comfortable for myself, and I encourage you to find the methods that work best for you, the ones that you can commit to doing consistently over a period of time for as long as you need to. And networking is not the end all be all solution to everything, but it's a career management strategy. So if you learn how to do network effectively or build relationships, professional relationships effectively, it becomes easy over the course of your career. And okay, so let's talk about how to stand out. So you've done all of this work to get clear, you've created your plan. Now, how do you stand out among the competition? So it feels like right now in the job market, there's a lot of competition, and there is a lot of competition. Employers are able to find the best talent anywhere in the world, so it can be really difficult to stand out. But standing out in your job search is really about presenting your qualifications in a compelling way. You have to tell the story of who you are as a professional consistently and across all of the different elements so that when someone looks at your resume and your cover letter, they tell the same story. When they meet you in person, they get the same story. When they look at your LinkedIn profile, they get the same story about who you are. So there's a consistent messaging about who you are as a person and professional that makes it easy again for recruiters, hiring managers, and those in your network to determine that you're qualified for the positions that you are interested in. You have to make it easy for them to do that. So you want a clear job history, well-written resume and cover letter with specific examples. You want a complete and easy to read LinkedIn profile. And those are all opportunities for you to stand out. One way, a couple tools or a couple activities that you can do to help you craft accomplishment stories or generate accomplishment stories are, again, the skills inventories that I mentioned. And what you can do with those, with the outcomes of those inventories, is to identify the skills that you would most like to apply in a meaningful way in work, and then come up with examples of when you have used those skills effectively in your career, and then you can take that data and apply it to your resume, your cover letter, and also as discussion points in your interviews. Another activity that you can do is what is referred to as at your best or generating accomplishment stories, and think about 3 times when you felt at your best, and maybe write a brief, just a brief description of what that was. Share that description with 2 or 3 people and ask them to tell you what knowledge, skills, abilities, attributes, skills they see in those stories. And then that gives you evidence of your accomplishments and your competencies. Mhm. And another way that you can craft accomplishment statements is by looking at job descriptions, and also relying on your newfound knowledge of what the positions require will give you clues on what you would want to emphasize. And in your accomplishment statements, you want to focus on accomplishments, outcomes, quantities, scope and range of your responsibilities. And another action that you can take is to take a representative job description or two, copy and paste it into a blank document, and then go through each one of the qualifications that is listed there, the desired qualifications, the description of the job, and then just write in your notes about how you meet those qualifications or how you have carried out those tasks effectively in work. You can use resume guides. Again, you can use the Occupational Outlook Handbook, the ONET, to find general information about over 200 jobs that are listed there. And you can also use informational interviews. And I think that that's a really effective way, not only to get insight into accomplishments that are relatable and desirable, but it also gives you some experience, some practice talking about your accomplishments with a professional who might be able to give you some feedback and guidance. So there is a question about where you utilize these accomplishment statements. So these accomplishment statements can be incorporated into your resume. They can be incorporated into your accomplishment statements on your cover letters, excuse me. And then in your LinkedIn profile, you have a summary section. And then you also have the work experience section. So in your work experience, you can, rather than just listing the tasks in your jobs, you can embed your accomplishment statements there. So those would be some really useful ways to use your accomplishment statements. And you can also use those as the foundation for discussions in interviewing. We'll talk about that just in a moment. And then you might want to grab these examples of accomplishment statements there that are some examples that you can use. Okay. So the other time that you're going to need to highlight your accomplishments is in interviews. So there are some common pitfalls when interviewing that we have to overcome. So not knowing what to expect in the interview, not knowing how to prepare, not knowing how to present your qualifications, and assuming that they know. Many times you take all of this care to, craft your application and your resume, and you submit it, you get called into an interview, and you know what? Maybe the person that you're interviewing with didn't take as much care to read through it as your effort warranted, or maybe they read it a while ago and it's just not top of mind for them. And so it's really important that you always, keep in mind that you have to present your qualifications clearly and effectively, verbally, even if you have everything, written in your cover letter and your application materials, if you will. So it's important also to understand the purpose of an interview, right? So from the hiring manager's perspective, the purpose of the interview is to determine if you can do the job. Do you have the knowledge, skills, and abilities to actually just do the job? And then the other qualitative pieces are, do you want to do the job? They are trying to discern your true interest and enthusiasm for not only doing the work, but doing it there, at that company, in that department. And they're also trying to discern if how well you're going to fit into the work environment or the department. So the interview is designed for that purpose. And one of the ways that they get at determining, can you do the job? What is your level of enthusiasm for doing the job, and will you fit into the department or the organization, is by using behavioral or situational interview questions. And you may be familiar with some of these type of questions where you're being asked to describe a situation or tell about a time when you had to do something, walk through how you might address a situation, a conflict in the work environment, or maybe a decision that you had to make within the last 6 months that worked out really well. So it's a style of interviewing that's used to determine your temperament or get some insight into your temperament, maybe your personal characteristics, and how you approach doing the work. And this is where the skills assessment and the accomplishment statement activities will be really helpful in answering these type of questions. And if you want to get a list of questions, you could just do a Google search on behavioral interviewing and you can find more than you'll ever need to know. So the STAR approach is a very effective framework for answering those type of questions. You may be familiar with this, and if so, that's great. This is, definitely a useful framework that you can use. It's describing the situation, describing the challenge or the task that needed to be carried out, describing the specific action that you took in the situation, and then describing the result. And I want to show you really quickly a customer service case study applying the STAR approach. So the person in this scenario was asked what was their role in their department's most recent success. And so they described a situation where their key client was having a issue with their database, and so their goal in the situation was to make sure that it was resolved in a timely manner to the satisfaction of that client. And let's see, let me move this. They then describe the action that they took in this situation, which was to listen so that they can determine what would be a favorable or desirable resolution for the client and the course of action. They went ahead and took their course of action, and then they described their outcome. So situation, task, action, result is the STAR approach framework. And this will help to alleviate that feeling of rambling in an interview if you can use this framework. And especially if you prepare in advance using this framework, you'll have an easier time staying on task, responding to those questions in a clear and concise manner. You don't have to have a script for everything. You don't have to have it memorized, but if you think about it and practice maybe a mock interview with these questions and giving your responses, you'll definitely stand out among the competition in interviews. And another way for you to stand out and get visibility is through relationship building that I mentioned. Someone asked about networking, and we'll talk a little bit about that just now. So networking done right is an investment, not only an investment in your job search, but it's an investment in your career development over time. It raises it's not about just, exchanging contact information. It's about raising your professional visibility. It's about increasing your social capital and therefore increasing your chances of attracting satisfied jobs, not only now, but through the course of your career. So it's very valuable activity for you to incorporate into your job, your career toolkit, if you will, your career management toolkit. You don't have to be super outgoing. You don't have to be extroverted, to build relationships. Find a method that works for you and just do that consistently. Over time, you'll become comfortable with it. And I think it's really useful to connect with people through, again, affiliations and interests that you already have. We'll talk about that more. So the kind of people that should be in your network are there mentors, people who are role models for you, people who encourage you, cheerleaders who can provide you, counsel, insight. So those are the kinds of people that should be in your network. So again, not only as a job search strategy, some of those roles are going to be have multiple utilities, not only in helping you find a job now, but also to help you navigate your career over the course of time. And there are different ways that you can, different opportunities for you to build and expand your network. If you're currently working, look to the internal opportunities that already exist for you in your organization. And it's very useful to do informational interviews, even with people who are your colleagues. If you're considering, ways to navigate within the same organization, you may or may not talk directly with your boss, but maybe there's someone that you notice that seems to be well liked and well respected in the organization, but they're in a different functional area. Well, you can go and meet with that person and just ask them a little bit more about their career, what they do every day, how did they get there. And what's really useful about that is you then have made built a relationship or established a relationship with someone who potentially can say your name at a table that you're not sitting at. So when they're talking about, we're looking for someone who can do this, this, and that, they might say, have you considered Markell? Oh no. Well, Markell does da 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 da. So by doing this even internally, your name could be raised in places where you are not you were not at. And that's a wonderful way that people can navigate within an organization that they want to stay at. And you also might look to external opportunities. And this is just me and how I've managed my career. I think it's useful to have internal network and an external network. Things change, people move around. There are a lot of just moving pieces in our lives and careers. So I think to safeguard your career from the inevitable ups and downs and changes, have a robust internal network and have a robust external network so that you're covered. And there are a lot of external opportunities. And again, you might already be doing these things. You might not be thinking about it as networking, but these are also forms of relationship building and networking. And again, use the affiliations that you already have. You have a lot of people already in your network. And so let's talk a little bit about how you can even map out your network as part of your job search plan. So if you're awesome but no one knows about it, you're not going to attract the job that you want. So that is a good motivation to do this. Networking and making those right connections can really get you the visibility that you need with the decision makers and referral sources. And you don't have to spend a lot of time doing this. You just need to be focused and consistent. You can spend maybe a few minutes a day. Maybe you go, if you're using LinkedIn, you go on LinkedIn in the morning. You look at, the articles or the posts that people are making, you like their posts, you make a comment, a meaningful comment, and maybe you share it. And then you just do that in the morning. And then you see your responses that you got throughout the day, respond back to those, go to bed and do it again. Maybe you come across an article or a piece of information that you think might be useful to your network, you share that, and there you go, rinse and repeat, and next thing you know, you're in the flow. Okay, so you can add that to your toolkit there, and we're getting to time, and so these are some questions to help you get focused in mapping your network. Again, identifying what your current needs are, identifying what opportunities you're currently seeking or your job target, what kind of help do you actually need? And then you can identify the people in your network who might be able to help you. I identify maybe a list of 10 people and then go through your list. And these 10 people can, again, start with the people you already know, your friends, your family, if you're in a sorority, if you volunteer in the community, whatever, maybe you're taking classes, whatever communities you're already a part of, those could be helpful people in your network. And then you want to go through and you determine how can these people specifically help you in meeting your needs in your job search? What gaps are there that need to be filled? Maybe they can help you make introductions to fill those gaps. And then your 30, 60, 90-day plan and put it on your calendar as part of your job search plan. Okay. So, and then finally, as it relates to LinkedIn basics, professional, you can use LinkedIn as a platform. I think it's very useful and effective, and there might be others that are out there as well, but LinkedIn is just the one I'm most familiar with. But have a complete profile, maybe personalize your URL. Those are the kind of the basics there. But in terms of engagement, and take the time to connect and build community, find professional associations, go where people gather, people that you want to meet gather. And that's going to be professional association groups online. There's interest groups on LinkedIn for everything you can imagine. And then regularly engage in those groups, regularly engage with those connections. If you're using it for job search, set up those job alerts. One tip that I have for people is I see that one big leap that people make quite frequently is they find someone that they want to connect with and they send a connection request. And maybe the person doesn't respond back for whatever reason. My tactic is to that I encourage is if you find someone that interests you that you want to make a connection with, follow them first and then see what their activity is on LinkedIn, engage with them, and then over time, build rapport, build connection with them, and then you can perhaps send them a connection request, or they might even send you a connection request. Then you open up your mutual network. And I found it's taking the long view with this, but it can be a more effective way to build your community, to build your connections and build and establish relationships using LinkedIn. There's a question about putting past jobs on your LinkedIn profile. I mean, I guess it depends on how long you've been working. I've been working for a long time. So at this point in my in my career, I don't go back to the very beginning. I go back maybe 10, maybe 15 years. I've had my business for a long time. Um, so I do that. You can curate your LinkedIn, what you put on your LinkedIn profile to present the best, your best image. Your LinkedIn profile is not a job application. On the job application, you have to put everything down that they ask for up to the time frame. But your LinkedIn profile, you can present your qualifications in any way that you want to, really. Okay, so is it a red flag? I think I don't know if it's a red flag per se, but they might wonder, especially in today's day and age with most jobs requiring use of technology. Um, but there might be situations where it just is not feasible for a person to be on LinkedIn. So I think that's a very personal question, and I would want to talk with you one on one to learn a little bit more and maybe help you come up with a strategy for navigating that. Okay. And I want to pause because we're at an hour, and I'm not sure if what kind of time we have, or do we want to jump to questions? I wanted to.
We have time. You have time. Yeah, that time went by fast,
It did
Tracy.
go by really fast. I just
And
have
you
one
have,
last thing that I wanted to
sure,
talk about.
no, go right ahead. We still have 40 people in the room, so go right ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I wanted to address just motivation, mindset and motivation, because that there's a lot of moving pieces, as you can see, in in a job search. And if you even doing all of these things, you can get fatigued and you can lose your motivation, and you might start internalizing the lack of response, or in your job search, or the not quite responses, that maybe there's something wrong with you. And that is most likely not the case at all whatsoever. So I wanted to share some suggestions for how to stay motivated in your job search and your career transition, because I know some of you are transitioning and pivoting and going through that whole process. And I have to say, early in my career, I made a career pivot. I've made several, but the first time it took me about 18 months, and I was actively, searching for answers to what I want to do next, and traveling and meeting people and all over. And it took me some time, but once I figured out what I wanted to do, it took me a month to get the job. So, yeah.
Because
So
once you go through all those steps that you introduced at the beginning, you are zeroing in on what it is that you want, and it becomes very, very clear. And so you use your filters to just like, no, this is not going to take me where I want to go. No, this is not going to take me where I want to go. So, but these, you're right, especially in this market, mindset and motivation is
mhm,
important.
mhm,
People feel
mhm,
like they're just sending things out into the void. From the HR perspective, we get a really bad name as, we're not responding, recruiters are not responding. And
mhm.
I have recruiters now who are just pulling back, they're pulling back offers there because the economy sometimes it's doing a dance right now. And so
Yeah,
it,
for
yeah,
sure.
it can get super, super frustrating for people. So I'm really glad that you shared these tips on self-care and health and wellness and to celebrate the
Hmm.
small successes. So lots of
For
great
sure.
comments from people who might want to move into public health, 30 years in one career, 0 years experience in the field they want to transition. Can you talk about transferable skills?
Can, and I want to share some specifics about this because I think it will help people. And so and I will talk about transferable skills as well because I'm hearing some I'm reading some fatigue here and I
Yeah.
think that in that visualizing success in your job search and visualizing success in your career transition can be very helpful for you, and creating affirmations around what you're envisioning for yourself in the future and keeping that in front of you is very helpful. And also, keeping track of your accomplishments. So you went through this whole process, you created a plan. Keep track of your accomplishments every week, every day if you can. I keep it present for yourself and celebrate your accomplishments in there. And take care of your mental health, your physical health, walk, drink water, exercise. All of that is very important and valuable in your job search. So I definitely wanted to just emphasize those factors in as part of maintaining your mindset and motivation. And that I can go on about that for another 40 minutes, but I won't. So as far as transferable skills are concerned, most of the skills that we use to do our work are transferable skills. Our ability to communicate both in writing and verbally, our interpersonal skills, how we interact with other people, our emotional intelligence, our critical thinking and problem solving skills, our planning and organizing skills, all of those are transferable skills. And it's helpful to look at those skills because we can lose sight of how wonderful we are because we're doing the same thing every day. It doesn't seem very special because it comes easily to us, and you that's not true. Everybody can't do the same thing. So I think that it's very valuable to go through the exercise of inventorying your transferable skills so that you can see the ones not only that you have, but the ones that you feel the most confident in using and the ones that you have the most interest and satisfaction from applying in work. So if you've been working for more than a year, the skills that you started off with are a set of skills, but you have at least a year. And for those of us who've been working for a very long time, we have many years of accumulation of skills. And what we enjoy doing at the very beginning of our career may not be what we enjoy doing as much at this point in our career. So our skill sets are constantly evolving and being applied in new ways. And so by taking the time to go through a skills inventory, and in one of the ways that I explained already, and identifying the skills, again, identifying the skills that you have today and the ones that you enjoy using today, and the ones that you feel the most confident using today are the ones that you want to leverage in your job search, and the ones that you want to incorporate into the ideal job that you have moving forward. Those are the ones that you want to incorporate into your accomplishment statements that you're going to be using on your resume and your your cover letter, your LinkedIn profile, and in your interviews. And so by doing that, then again, you're going to be able to sort through all of the jobs that are out there. If you do networking right, you're going to start getting job opportunities from people as well. So you're going to be able to sort through all of those and to be able to pick out the ones that are going to be the most best fit, that are going to leverage your motivated skills the most effectively.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Especially for that person who thought, well, I've been in one industry for 30 years. I have zero experience in what I want to do. And people forget, if you walk through the process that you've just laid out, you're going to find those skills that are going to apply. I always give the example that my first job ever, I was an air traffic controller for 5 years. And there are skills that I built there that have nothing to do with HR, but that ability to do multiple things, understand multiple things, keep big picture in my head, those are things that you bring with you, regardless of, in that case, you're in the aviation industry to being in a HR profession. So I think the steps that you laid out, Markell, are super valuable. And I can tell from the audience response that it's
Yeah.
the
Can I say
best
one
thing
more
about
thing?
this presentation. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
I'm looking at this because you're right, and this. So in addition to inventorying your skills, this person, says I have zero experience in the field that you're interested in. Don't let that stop you, because again, like Dr. Robinson says, you just don't know how your skills might be applicable. And this is a perfect opportunity for you to let your curiosity lead.
There you
There's a
go.
reason why that field is of interest to you. So potentially if you integrate yourself into that field, you're going to be working with other people who share that interest. So reach out to people and simply say, I am really interested in this industry and in this field, and I would like to talk with you about what you do within this field. And go talk to them.
I
Go to
love
a
that,
professional.
Markel, that you said let your curiosity lead, because one of the things when you find Markel on LinkedIn is you will realize that she has learned Korean. And
Yes.
I saw
And
I
I mean,
saw your slide the other day where you did your first presentation in Korean. So yes, let your curiosity lead the way, and you'll learn about yourself too in the process. So that is awesome. Did you show a slide that had your LinkedIn
I will
information? Or do you
I
have
will
that?
definitely, yes, I have not, but I will jump to that right now. So if you want to scan
Awesome.
this QR code, this will take you to the career resources on my website. So on my website, I have publications that I've written, I have, coaching groups, coaching programs, but I also have a lot of articles related to job search, and I have articles related to career management, career planning, and I also have podcasts and other videos that I have had. So you can go and get a lot more information than what I've talked about today. And you can connect with me on all these platforms. So there's my website, there's my LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. During the pandemic, I got on Instagram and had a business coach, and she's like, "You need to get on Instagram." So I got on Instagram, and then Facebook. I have a Facebook platform as well. So,
Awesome,
mhm.
awesome. And for two of our lucky participants tonight, we are actually going to extend a scholarship where we'll, select randomly two people from the list of folks who've been here this evening to get to work with Markel one-on-one. The HBCU Career Center, that's something we've done, where we try to get folks in front of people who practically do this kind of work. And so we get to extend that opportunity. So if you haven't registered on our job board at the HBCU Career Center, try to do that between now and next Thursday, April 3rd. And we're going to be able to identify two people, just random selections, who get to work with Markel. In the meantime, I know you have career programs, self-paced, that people can get into or
Mhm.
work with you directly. So please, please,
Mhm.
please just utilize Markel as a
Sure.
resource. So
There's a
let's
question
see.
there that I think would be really
Yeah,
helpful for me to address in the main
which
group,
one?
but the how do you address roles that you are more than qualified to do, but the job description requires more than years of experience than you have? And yes, I do have programs. If you're still exploring and trying to get some clarity, I start my clients off with Career Visioning 101. So it's part of my full coaching program, but it's also a standalone program, and that helps you to start thinking intentionally about what you want in your career in life. So you can go directly to my website, Career Visioning 101. Oh, for the one-on-one. So in this scenario, this is a common scenario. You're qualified, but you may not have the years of experience. And so this is where the strategy in your job search, people hire people, come from, because when a person gets to know you and your qualifications, all of a sudden you have enough experience. So I would, and obviously we can't unpack it completely, but I would really encourage you to, if you're not already, um, to incorporate relationship building and incorporate um, ways that you can give yourself visibility. So if you are using a LinkedIn platform and you're qualified for these jobs, then what evidence can you present through your LinkedIn or your online platforms to support your qualifications, so that when you do apply for jobs, and I think that most people nowadays, they probably do kind of take a gander at LinkedIn or something, they see, oh wow, okay, well this person is highly engaged in this area, and the person who may have 10 years of experience, let's just say, may not be as engaged. They might be dialing it in, but they see that you have interest and enthusiasm for this particular role in this particular industry, and that might give them, the motivation to consider you over other candidates. So that's just one, way to take a look at it. Mhm. There's,
Right.
the main issue there's a lot of factors involved that we can't really always know. And I think we have a tendency to internalize the responses that we get. It has 99% of the time nothing to do with you and everything to do with factors that are outside of our control. And that's just really kind of the reality. So that's why the self-care, the mindset and motivation tips are so important, that you incorporate those habits into your daily life so you can keep your self steady and encouraged in the challenges of a job search.
And I love your statement about, rinse, repeat. Those of us who are introverts who are in this business, we find tools that help us just do what we know we have to do. And every day we do a little bit more and, do a little bit more. So good advice. This person
Mhm.
says, who is this? Tasha. This week makes a year I've been unemployed. I work in the pharma industry in quality and compliance, but I'd like to pivot to clinical research, but it's difficult. I have a solid network in that area. It's just finding positions I could do and have transferable skills, but HR hiring managers may not know how my skills apply. Maybe I need to work on my resume. Do you have any thoughts you want to share there, Markel?
Quick question, Tasha, where are you located? Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm just
I,
waiting to see if they
mhm.
pop anything in. Uh,
It's I
Not
think.
sure.
Okay, so I have a colleague actually who has
Georgia. She says
Georgia.
Georgia.
She
Uh-huh.
established the biotech network, and she was a bench scientist and wanted to get into marketing and made that pivot from scientist to marketer. And she created this, and um it's grown over the years, but she had me, come in and give a similar talk, to so I would say, I'm not sure what you're doing specifically, to look for jobs, but I would say that again, your approach could be to raise your visibility in as it relates to becoming a clinical research professional. So again, what evidence do you have that you can present that you have those qualifications um, for those roles? Finding the jobs again that are a fit for you. It's an art and not a science. And I can tell you from being a hiring manager and, having worked in departments, that a lot of jobs are gotten through word of mouth. So oftentimes when there's an opening, they're talking at a staff meeting and they're like, hey, we're going to fly this position. Do you know of anyone? Oh, yeah, I know someone. Have them send in the resume. They have those internal, referrals that they will interview. They might grab some resumes or applications offline if they need to, from the online platforms if they need to. But a lot of those jobs are filled by word of mouth and internal candidates before they even get to those external candidates. So you want to be the person who gets the referral. You want to be the person who says, hey, Tasha, I know you're looking for this. My company's hiring. Send in your resume. And I can tell you an example of how this worked for me. Uh, I A few years ago, there was a specific place that I wanted to work. As I wanted to do some adjunct work there, and I'm very actively involved in my professional association in California. And through my involvement, I had been communicating with someone by email. I never met this person in person. I had no idea what they looked like or anything. So I was at my event. I had to do the welcome session. And then I sat down. I just sat down somewhere. And the person I sat down next to said, hey, Markell, I'm so and so. We've been emailing. And I said, "Oh, wow." And she says, I want to introduce you to someone." And the person that she introduced me to was the person who worked where I wanted to work. And so I said, "Oh, hi, it's so nice to meet you." I said, "I want to work there. So if there's an opening, let me know." And they said, "Okay." And then 3 months later, they emailed me and said, "Do you still want to work here? We're hiring."
Wow. Wow. Yeah, those stories abound for sure. Those stories abound. Sometimes it adds to the stress that people have, from doing this many, many years. People feel like, oh, they already have someone picked out, or they're going to choose someone internally. So they are kind of half into a job search and, half feeling, that they're not going to get positions. So I think those tips that you shared about how to keep yourself balanced and how to keep yourself fortified, for the job search and balance that with continue to build your network of connections. I think those two things can come together. Tasha has an additional challenge in that she's currently in Georgia, but moving to North Carolina this summer. So that
Mm.
adds another layer of complexity to the job search for her.
Yeah, I think I I I'm going to go back to what I was talking about in the very beginning, and I'm sorry I keep moving these slides. I'm trying to manage the chat, scroll up and down with the chat. Um, you have to get clear. You have to get crystal clear about your target. So and why, you want to pivot to a new role. Why? What you don't have to tell everybody, but what is motivating that pivot? And then what are your qualifications that support you being able to do that job? And then again, the practical matters, what your work preference is, and really go through that process. So even saying clinical research is sounds specific, but it's not. It's kind of specific, okay? Because clinical research, that's like saying general manager. You that says something and nothing, okay? You can do clinical
Right.
research in so many different environments. Do you want to work at a research university? Do you want to work at a hospital? Do you want to work in not pharmaceuticals? Do you want to work in a think tank? Where do you want to work as a clinical research professional? What problems do you want to solve through clinical research? What do you want to be a manager of others? Do you want to be an individual contributor? Do you want to be in a startup environment? Do you want to work in a very well established company? Be more specific about it, and that will help you to make connections more easily in your job search. I'd use that as an example because she raised it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no, that's a great response. And you actually gave a couple of examples in your presentation about how to be very specific. I want to be a UX designer, working at these kinds of companies. So it takes that internal work to do it. And coming to a presentation like this is part of that internal work where, you've given so many actionable steps that people can take. So I don't want to take your whole evening there, Markel.
Still
Oh,
early
but
for me.
you're on the West Coast, so it's still kind of early. Yeah.
I'm in California.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And we have people from everywhere. So let me just end this by saying thank you very much for coming, participating with us, and sharing your years of expertise, very, very practical knowledge that people can go out and apply. I encourage people to connect with you on LinkedIn, and we're hoping to find two people that you can continue this experience with them and help them make that pivot or, move into something more excellent. So I thank you again, Markell. Thanks to everybody for coming. Check out our website events page so you can see who's going to be in our events. I think we have April and May already scheduled.